Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Mike Francesa channel, on the Bet Rivers Network, on YouTube, on this Friday morning before what will be a very busy sports weekend. The NBA playoffs begin in earnest. We still have the stuff to finish up tonight, but they begin in earnest tomorrow. The Knicks will play at 6 o'clock tomorrow night against the Pistons. They're 7-point favorites. They're heavy favorites to win the series. We'll get to that. We'll get to some NFL draft stuff. Steve Serby will be on to talk about especially the Giants and the Jets, because there's a lot of intrigue. And the Giants really, where they are, will have a very big say in exactly how the first round is conducted, with both teams obviously having premium picks. Where they do and where they're going to go for players and what they're going to do, and especially what the Giants are going to do. We'll get to that with him in a couple of minutes. And then, of course, the Yankees playing well right now, putting together a little hot streak. Again, it's going to be a competitive division. They're going to go as far as their pitching takes them. We know they're going to hit home runs. We know they're going to score runs. The question is just what they can do with their starting pitching and whether or not they can get a couple of the youngsters to really step up and be somewhat consistent, because they're going to have to wait on Heel. Heel's already been delayed at least another 2 weeks, maybe more. You have to wait and see because he isn't healed enough yet. But they're just going to have to be patient with him. And they're going to have to rely on some of the young guys and hope that they can do enough. They have a deep bullpen. And obviously, they're hitting plenty of home runs, as we know, led by Judge, who's off to a great start. Now, the other story, of course, is Soto. And Soto caused this himself. He made a mistake. He stepped in a hole, and he has compounded it clearly by letting what he said publicly, which wasn't smart. First of all, he didn't need to go there. Secondly, you don't comment when your team is winning. Just be quiet. The other thing is he wasn't off to a bad enough start to really acknowledge it. But I have to tell you, the last 2 days, it's noticeable. It really is. He looks terrible. He looked terrible last game in Minnesota. He looked terrible last night. I mean, off balance, lunging, guessing, just really not at all what he usually is at the plate, which is an incredibly disciplined, balanced hitter who has a better idea how to work a pitcher and attack it at bat than just about anybody I've ever seen. Well, the last couple of days, that guy hasn't existed at the plate. He looks terribly off balance. He's clearly guessing. He is pressing. He is jumping at pitches that he should never jump at. He's taking pitches that he usually doesn't take. He's not framing pitches the way he usually does. It's just really, it's noticeable. And it just shows you that even someone who is as experienced and as efficient as he is can have doubts and performance anxiety. Plus, as I've said to you during this whole start, he clearly feels like he has to produce something special for what he was given. And he is carrying that responsibility to ownership, to the fans, to the city, whatever you want to say it, wherever it works out and breaks in his mind, it is obviously impacting his play dramatically right now. He didn't handle the stuff well. It didn't look good from a standpoint for Alonso. I don't think it was a big deal. Actually, the way it worked out, Judge wound up complimenting Alonso anyway. So it just needs to relax. And this is where you need the manager to step in and say, hey, he doesn't need a day off. He just needs to sit down with either whoever he sits down with. And I don't know with that team who it is, but whoever it is, just sit down and realize, hey, you don't have to pay this back in one day. Nobody's expecting you to pay it back with, overwhelming early season performances. Just do what you do. That's plenty. I mean, they're drawing incredibly well. They had 38,000 on a cold and then windy and cold. As I played golf yesterday afternoon, it was freezing. A cold and Citi Field, any ballpark at this time of year is brutal. Cold, windy night, Thursday night, school. I don't know if there was school or not yesterday because of Easter, but either way, 38,000 for that night is a heck of a crowd. And so far, the returns on them attendance-wise have been very, very good. Plus, they're winning. So that should allow him to relax a little bit. And he just has to, right now, he's his own worst enemy. Is he seeing as good a pitching? No. Is he being challenged in the strike zone with fastballs the way he was last year? No. I think the numbers shook out 25% last year to 17% so far this year. It's not drastic, but it's a number. He's not going to see, they're not going to come after him at the level or the intensity that they did last year because he doesn't have the best hitter in the sport behind him. They're going to challenge Alonso until they don't want him anymore. Now, if Alonso keeps doing what he's doing now, you know what? Soto's going to see better pitches. That's all there is to it because, hey, right now he's the lesser of the two evils. You go after him right now, the way he's going, because Alonso's on fire. So until that changes, that's the way it's probably going to go. But he just has to. He made a mistake. He's paying for it. This is not surprising. The only reason is I should say it's a little surprising. It's only surprising from the standpoint that he had been so efficient and so good at everything he had to do last year. He never ever hit a bump in the road, not even a little bit. So looking like he's looked the last couple of days, pressing and having the terrible at-bats he's had with runners in scoring position. And the last 2 days struck out 4 times, and he doesn't even look like himself. It's not the same hitter. I mean, if you look at the stances, if you look at just the approach to the pitches, if you look at just the movement in the box, it's completely different. He just needs to calm down. If he does, things will be fine. Now, Knicks are 7-point favorites for game 1 tomorrow night. We'll put up a same-game parlay before the game on BetRivers. Just go to the BetRivers app or BetRivers.com, and you can download that. Everything you need is there. Futures, game stuff, anything. It's a smorgasbord. All right. Talking about being there, let's talk a little draft now. Little Giants and Jets. We're a week away from everybody this year going to Green Bay, okay, as the NFL finds another way to make money. Okay, that's what the NFL does. It finds ways to make money. And now they've turned the draft not only into an event, they've turned it into the greatest non-event in sports history. They've now turned it into an event where they can make a fortune during the week by moving it around the country. So, listen, when it comes to making money, they do a better job than anybody else. Steve Serby's been with the Post for, heck, longer than I was a fan. So he's old. He's older than me, I think. So, but he's still doing it. And so it's funny. Somebody sent me recently, Steve, an interview we did about a week before I left the Fan. You did like this big interview with me. That, I don't know. You probably don't remember it, but somebody sent it to me, and it was funny going back and looking at it. The thing I hit best was I told them to buy 2 stocks, Nvidia and Amazon. If they did that, they should be sending me presents because they would have made a lot of money since 2017. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, thank you. Everything's good. All right. The Giants are fascinating here from a lot of regards. First of all, you want to see them stop being so inept because here's a franchise that was so good for so long and is so bad now and has been so bad since Coughlin days that it's almost frightening. How do you feel, first of all, about the idea of having 2 lame duck guys deciding a franchise's future?
Well, look, that was the latest mess that John Mara got himself into. I thought that they either had to fire both or keep them both because they do have a very simpatico relationship, Joe Shane and Brian Dable. So the idea was to draft their quarterback of the future in this draft, which they're not going to find, and hope they can win enough games with a bridge quarterback like Russell Wilson to get them to prevent them from being fired, both Shane and Dable. Now, you're right. It's these are the wilderness years for the Giants.
Well, can you explain exactly what they did? First of all, I know from someone that I trust that they went in head over heels on Aaron Rodgers. They offered him more money than anybody else. He didn't want to come. He was afraid of them. Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know why they would do that, but
okay. But they did that, and it didn't work out. If you were gonna go get Russell Wilson, why did they get Jameis Winston?
They wanted a quality backup. They knew they weren't getting Cam Ward because the Titans are going to take him at number one.
Right.
And it seems like they don't believe in Shedeur Sanders.
Well, do we know that? Do we know that?
No.
Do we know that they won't take him at 3? Do you feel confident right now? Does Steve Serby feel confident right now the Giants will not draft him at 3?
I would say it's 80% that they won't.
Because if they do, then I don't understand anything they did by signing Winston and Wilson and then drafting him at 3 would make no sense.
No, it wouldn't, because he's going to have to sit behind Wilson and possibly even Jameis Winston, although he is the most pro-ready of the remaining quarterbacks after Cam Ward.
Now, I can give you a diabolical scenario, Steve. Let me give you that first, okay? There's 2 ways for them to save their jobs, which is what they're out to do. One is have Russell Wilson have success with what they put together this year. That's the first. The second is to somehow, either at 3 or later in the first round, maybe come back using that second round pick. But that means using next year's pick, and then you've let them bankrupt next year's draft. So that's hard to do with guys who are lame ducks. But the other way they save their job is if they get off to a bad start and they put in Sanders and turn him into a star. Either way saves their job. So that gives them 2 avenues to save their job if they want to be diabolical.
Well, right now, the way I see it is if the Browns take Travis Hunter,
which they probably will. Right.
The Giants should draft Abdul Carter.
I agree.
Who 6'3", 250. People are comparing him.
Can't miss.
Exactly. You take the best player, gives them an uber pass rush back in the old days with Tuck and OC and Strahan, etc. And so the pass rush plus Russell Wilson, you hope to be able to win 7-8 games.
Now, is that enough, or are they pulling something where they're coming back up in the first round?
Yeah, well, I did a mock draft last week, and I had them coming back in this first round, the bottom of the first, and taking Jalen Milroe,
who has risen up boards like crazy, even after he had maybe the worst bowl game I've ever seen a quarterback have.
Yeah, they don't have to sacrifice next year's draft pick. They have the 34th pick right now.
Right.
And it won't.
Well, he won't last to 34, everyone says. But here's the thing. I saw people predicting they were going to go to 8 and then jump ahead in New Orleans. What people don't realize is the cost for them to use their 34th pick to go to 8 will cost them their next year's draft.
Yeah, no, they absolutely should not. And I don't think they will do that. That would be folly to do that. But, they can fork over. They have 2 third-round picks. They could fork over one of those. But without touching, I don't think John Mara would let them touch next year's draft.
So then they can go, let's say reasonably, they can get into the low 20s maximum.
Well, they have to get ahead of the Steelers at 21.
Right, which is not going to be easy. It's going to be costly. It's probably going to cost them 2 threes to do that.
I don't think it's going to be 2 threes, Mike. I think
from 34 to 21, 13 spots. Do the math. It might be a 3 and a 5 or a 3 and a 4, something like that.
Whatever it is, if they like one of those other quarterbacks, look, John Mara instructed. He told them that he wants a quarterback of the future in this draft. They have to draft a quarterback of the future.
They do. And the other thing, Steve, that they have to do, which people should realize is a very real part of this, the Giants want to be relevant again. They don't like the fifth announcers doing their game. They don't like that no one's paying attention and they're being treated like, they're the, Carolina Panthers. Okay. They don't like that. They feel they have really fallen as a status and they want to matter again. That's what they want. They want, which is why they were interested in Rodgers. They thought Rodgers would make them matter again. They want people to at least be talking about the Giants or at least have some buzz about the Giants.
Well, they tried hard to get Matthew Stafford, if you recall.
They did, yes.
Made him a big offer, and he would have solved a lot of problems, I believe. I still believe he has a lot of football left. And
well, I think they're a sleeper to go to the Super Bowl next year to Rams.
I was just going to say that they are my NFC pick.
I agree. I think they could be very good next year.
Yeah, Devontae Adams, he's going to have a field day.
And the coach is a great coach, too.
Great coach. Absolutely. They got a great running back. They've got a young defensive line.
Yeah, two great receivers. No, they're a good team. They're
my pick, especially with the 49ers kind of in transition.
I agree with you.
Yeah, but anyway, the Giants have kicked the quarterback can down the road last year.
Well, let's get to the beginning, though. Do they like, and I don't know this, so I'm not close to the Giants anymore. I admit it. I don't have guys inside that organization anymore.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows it, Mike.
So do you think they like Sanders or they don't like Sanders? What are you hearing?
I think they like him. I don't think they like him enough to draft him at 3.
But he won't. And now where do you think he lands? Does he get past New Orleans?
Well, New Orleans with the Derek Carr problem, they've got a quarterback whisperer in Kellen Moore. I had him going to New Orleans in my mock draft 3. I'll have another mock coming up this week, and I got to watch a little more film. And
I may,
if he gets past New Orleans,
he's going to fall.
Between 9 and 21 would be an opportunity for a team to come up and take him if they like him enough.
Now, do you believe the buzz that on Milroe is real? Because a lot of people are talking that he has been vindicated. First of all, he's a bright kid.
He's a great kid.
Great kid, great leader, very smart kid. Had a night. Wink Martindale made him look stupid in the bowl game. I mean, he just embarrassed them. Okay, I mean, it just happened. Okay. The bottom line is he's a good athlete, good runner who has a very strong arm, but he needs a lot of work. He might be a little better version of Richardson is what he might be.
Oh, I hope he's a better version of Richardson. Right. But look, one of the reasons that Brian Daboll is the head coach is his ability to mold a clay quarterback. Look what he did with Josh Allen. Now,
I think that was gold. I don't think it was clay. I think it was gold.
We're not comparing Milroe to Josh Allen, but you've got a head coach who can develop quarterbacks, and with Wilson and Jameis Winston, you can sit a guy like Milroe and develop him and hope that Brian Daboll can develop him into a quarterback who at worst could be a backup for a long time in the NFL, but ideally can be a starter at some point because the kid has tremendous raw talent and you could use him in packages in the meantime as a rookie.
We're talking with Steve Serby, Steve Serby, about the Giants and the Jets and the draft, which is next week. He's been doing this forever, folks.
Before you were born, Mike.
Now listen, not that far. But, listen, I was in grammar school, maybe. But
with my grammar.
We've both been around the team forever, okay? We know the once proud franchise that it was and how far it's fallen and everything that's gone on.
You talking about the Giants or the Jets?
First the Giants. The Jets never have been proud, okay? We know that. They had like 3 years where they were proud. That's it. The bottom line is this, okay? Here's the question. I have not, since stepping away, I have not been around Daboll. I have not been around Shane. You have. Do you believe in these guys? Do you think they're the real thing? Are they worth keeping, or do they need to go?
I think John Mara believes in Joe Shane. Again, he inherited a salary cap mess when he got here. His big error so far has been Evan Neal with the 7th pick of his first draft. Now, his second draft wasn't that good either. the jury is out on both of them. Obviously, they won 3 games last year.
Do you
And
think it was
almost,
was it Wink Martindale the first year, or did Dable get credit for something Wink did, or was Dable a really good coach the first year? He looked like he was a good coach
well,
the
he was,
first year.
yeah, he was coach of the year. He
No, but
was
he
coach of
looked like it. But really, they did win a lot because the defense put on some incredible packages of blitzing in the fourth quarter that really won some games that they shouldn't have won. Let's be
Yes,
honest.
but he did do a good job. Dable did do a good job with Daniel
I
Jones
agree,
that
he
year.
did. I agree. But then his last 2 years have been abominable, and they've looked abominable.
Yeah, the problem is they're one of the have-nots of the NFL. They don't have a quarterback.
Right.
They Daniel
But you've
Jones.
heard he doesn't get around. You've heard he doesn't get along with coaches anymore. That he fights with everybody. I mean, did his personality change a lot? Did he change as a guy, Dable?
Well, I don't. He doesn't handle losing well.
Right.
I think his relationship with Daniel Jones deteriorated. He couldn't get through to Daniel Jones, and they made a big deal of losing these one-score games. And they believe, or they keep their fingers crossed, that Russell Wilson plus a pass rush, as in the old days, similar to the old days, can enable them to win some of those one-score games. But they still need a quarterback of the future. And if they don't find one this year, I think both of them are going to go, because I think the ceiling for that team is 7 wins.
And they're in a brutal division. They play a very tough schedule, and they're in a brutal division. And they're fourth in the division any way you slice it. The Cowboys healthier. We know what Washington is. We know what Philly is. They're easily fourth in the division. I don't even know if they get to 7. I mean, I don't think Russell Wilson has a lot left myself. I really don't. So, and there's still a lot of holes on the Giants. There really are. So there's a lot there. Here's the question as we wrap up the Giants and get to the Jets, Steve. What do the Giants have going into the second round? Do they have just Carter? Do they have just Sanders? Or do they have a combination of Carter and a quarterback? What do you think they have?
My guess will be Carter and a developmental quarterback, because I
That they
think
picked up on the first round.
that they traded back into the first round
to
again.
get. Okay. So
Or
that's and a lot of people like that scenario for the Giants. A lot of people, yeah.
yeah, there's pressure on Shane and Dable to come away with a quarterback in this draft. You can't keep kicking the quarterback can down the road. You know, they took Neighbors last year, which was a great pick.
Yes.
They passed on Bo Nix. They passed on Michael Penix. They passed on McCarthy.
Yep.
At some point, if you don't have a quarterback, you have no hope.
Agreed. Now, so would you be shocked if they didn't pick Carter?
Yes, I would be shocked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Because
get to
he can't miss.
I agree. Let's get to the Jets. I actually think Carter's more can't miss than Hunter is, to be honest with you. Okay. I don't like all this back and forth with the two positions with Hunter. I don't like it. I know what Carter is. I think Carter's probably the best player in the draft.
Mike, I agree. I would always take pass rush first.
I agree 100%. Now, Jets, I gather. Well, let me ask you first. What's your thoughts on Aaron Glenn?
Aaron Glenn is going to be a hard-ass, kick-ass coach. He's going to put the Jets through a tough training camp, similar to what Bill Belichick did in 2000 when he took over in New England. He had tongues wagging in that training camp, and he wants to weed out the dead wood. And he's going to establish a no-nonsense culture. But the problem is, he's going to do it with Justin Fields,
who I don't believe in. So I'm sorry. Fields can run. He is not a good thrower. He is not a good passer, and I don't think he's ever going to be a good passer. That's just me. Yeah. And I've watched. I don't believe in him. I understand why he didn't want a diva quarterback. I understand that, and they have holes to fill. So they have a variety of ways to go. Now, there's two real things that have been going on with it. There's two questions to answer with the Jets. We're talking with Steve Serby at the Post. One is, do they take the tackle or take the tight end? Now, we got to this last year, and I admit, and I'm going to admit now that I think I was wrong. I wanted them, because Rodgers was there, to take the Penn State tackle, who's going to be a very good player for a long time. We knew that then. We know it now. I thought Tyron Smith was going to click there. He hated it there. Okay, really, because he wasn't with a professional team. He had been with a professional team his whole life. He went into a three-ring circus and he was like, I'm not going to be part of this nonsense. And he wasn't. He really never gave his heart to that. So he and Moses are both retired now. We know that. Okay. Now,
Well, yeah,
to,
Moses is elsewhere now, but
yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he's talking about retirement. So I don't know if he's going to play or not. So So let's see what happens now. Okay. And Smith's retired and probably go to the Hall of Fame. Now, again, they're in the same place. Tackle or tight end. I think I was wrong last year. I think they should have taken Bowers. I think he's that good. They have another opportunity now. I think Tyler Warren is that good. I think he is 6'6", 250. He can block. He's a leader. He's a competitor. He's a fighter. He's got great hands. He can play against zone. He can play against man. He can block. He is a generational tight end. Don't make the same mistake. Take the 10-year great tight end. You can get the right tackle down the road. I know he's a bookend for you, but again, so is it the tackle or is it the tight end?
Well, Mike, I'll disagree with. I love Tyler Warren. Everybody raves about him. He would definitely make Justin Fields better.
A lot better.
But I would go with Armand Membu.
So you're going with the tackle, okay? And listen, there's not an argument here. They're both going to be top players. I bet you they're both Pro Bowl players, okay? Everything I hear about the tackle is excellent. That he's a absolute fixture, 10-year starter, the whole thing, okay? And last year, I would have taken John Alt if he was available. And I wanted to take the Penn State guy because I thought they needed it with Rodgers. Bowers, I watched him. He was sensational last year. Sensational. I think this kid is another generational tight end. I'm going the tight end. You're going the tackle. And I think they're going to go to tackle. I really do.
Well, Aaron Glenn wants to run the ball. He's got 3 quality backs, and a guy like Membu would give you a better chance. And now Tyler Warren
can block. He's 250 pounds.
But I want to solidify that offensive line. Aaron Glenn came from a place where the offensive line was the strength of the team. So, and I think he wants Justin Fields to be an important part of the running game. And I think with a guy like Membu, they can have a ground and pound attack, which will only help Justin Fields.
Okay, so that's the first question. You're going tackle. I want to go tight end. You're going tackle, but I understand. I really believe they're going to go tackle myself. So, and I can't knock the pick. I can't knock it. It's just philosophy here. 2 very talented players. The second one is this fact or is this fiction? There are a lot of people saying Hall is on the block and he's going to get traded during the draft. You buy that or not buy that?
I could see that happening because they're going to have to pay him at some point, and they've got Braylon Allen behind him, who the previous coaching staff loved, and Isaiah Davis, also a later round draft pick, but he looked awful good in his cameo last year. So yes, I could see them trading Breece Hall. Absolutely. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, the new GM, are not committed. They didn't draft Breece Hall.
And Hall was a big disappointment last year, but so was everybody because the offensive line just was a disaster. So the play calling and the coaching and everything else. So the whole thing was a disaster. So I'm not even going to blame Breece Hall, although he is a very suspect short yardage running back. We know that. He is an explosive running back, but not a very good short yardage running back.
Yeah, and he's been banged up a lot too over the years.
All right, so what do you think? So you think the Jets are going to go tackle, not tight end? That was the first question. Where do you think the Jets are? That team is not bereft of talent, but they don't now have a legendary quarterback. And I guarantee you right now, their quarterback is not going to put up the touchdown interception ratio that they got last year. And 7 drops in the end zone that would have been touchdowns. So he was 28-11. They're not getting 28-11 out of Fields.
No, well, to your point about Tyler Warren, they need weapons.
They need weapons. They need a tight end badly.
Yes, they do. But they might be able to get one in the 3rd round or 2nd round. No, 3rd round. I don't know. Yeah, I think they have all their picks, but they might be able to get. There are some quality tight ends in this draft the kid
Well, there's 2
Arroyo.
going in the 15th in the top 15 because the Michigan kid's gonna go in the top 15
Yeah,
too.
he won't be available.
Yeah, right.
The Michigan kid has been compared more to Bowers actually than Tyler
No,
Warren
I
has.
agree because Tyler Warren's a brute. He's a brute, but I'll tell you what he is. If you look run after catch, his numbers were sensational last year. And I watched him play a lot. And when they actually played him straight up, he killed teams. He is a really good player. I
Well,
mean, I think he's a can't miss player.
yeah, I agree, but he's been compared to Gronkowski.
Yes, I think he is. I think he's going to be all-pro tight end. I don't think there's any question about it. I think he
They
will.
can't go wrong with either Tyler Warren or the tackle Membu. But weapons, the new GM has to get weapons. Devontae Adams is gone. Otherwise, all you have, Justin Fields, I would just tell him, throw the ball to Garrett Wilson. You see number 5 over there? Just throw it to him.
How many games do you think the Jets win next year?
6.
That'd be another lean year, boy. How many games do you think the Giants win?
I'm going to go 6 with them also.
Boy, what a terrible year that'll be again.
The over-unders are 5.5.
Right?
So
No,
I
I agree.
over.
Listen, I agree. I mean, so the intrigue, there's a little intrigue with the Jets because of the tackle tight end, but I agree with you. Everyone seems to feel that he wants to take the tackle and build the infrastructure, which I can't doubt. I can't knock. But you know what? You're also building the infrastructure with Warren because he is a brute. I mean, he's 6'6", 254. I mean, that's a big man.
Yeah.
The other thing is with the Giants, they could do almost anything in this thing. I mean, they really could. I mean, they could drive everybody crazy and take Sanders at 3, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll take Carter and then go shopping. The question is where they land. So you think they'll come back and take a quarterback somewhere in the first round?
Or if they get lucky, they'll have the quarterback they like fall to number 34, and they could take him at 34 if they get lucky. But again, there's pressure on them to get a young quarterback, and there's other quarterback needy teams. New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. Cleveland has the 33rd pick. They're going to want one of those quarterbacks.
Let me ask you a question. 5 years from now, what quarterback from this draft is starting?
Cam Ward. That's it.
I have none, but if there's one, I agree it's only Cam Ward. I do not think this is a good quarterback group. I do not. I don't think there's any starters there might be no starters in this draft. Now, you know everything. You know what everybody in the league wants. There's 2 players in college that everybody covets. Arch Manning and the wide receiver at Ohio State. That's it. Those 2 are game-breaking, generational talents that people would do anything to get. The Arch Manning thing is going to be a craze when he comes out.
He's going to make when he comes out. We don't know when he
might. I don't know when. Yeah.
He will make more NIL money than even you made in college, Mike.
Right, no, I don't know if he'll make as much as I did as a fan, but maybe at college.
Yeah. Well, the man. Would John Mara love Arch Manning in 2 years?
Oh my! Can you imagine? But the Mannings probably would say now, they probably say, no, we don't want him going there. Like the old days, when they orchestrated that. And it's so funny. I remember Dog and I were with Ernie the night before that draft, and we were hearing all the rumblings about the trades and everything. And he said to us, I'll never forget, I'll be happy with 2 of the 3. And it was Rivers, Eli, and Roethlisberger. He didn't want Rivers. He wanted Roethlisberger or Eli. And he winds up with Eli, which, hey, you know what? 2 Super Bowls later, and you always think of the adage. I always think of this with Ernie Accorsi, who learned from George Young and learned from the old Colts. You can never have too many quarterbacks on your roster. That was always his theory.
Yeah, well, that's why this current regime has to take a swing. They didn't take a swing at quarterback last year. The owner wants a quarterback of the future. Now, good luck finding one in this year's draft. That's the problem. Next year's quarterback class is considered much better, whether Arch Manning comes out or not. But poor John Mara, he was so patient when he had an Eli Manning. And then once Eli was gone and Daniel Jones didn't work out, he could no longer be patient with his head coach because without Eli Manning, he had nothing but a quarterback killer. Daniel Jones was not the answer, as it turned out. They thought he was. Gettleman compared him to Eli Manning. He was a great kid, said all the right things, but was not Eli Manning.
What would have
So
happened? I always think about it, Steve. What would have happened if they, and I understand he lost 3 years in a row, and the 3rd year he promised his co-owner he would not keep Coughlin if he lost the 3rd year, and they had injuries that 3rd year. If they had gotten to 500 that year and kept Coughlin, I wonder what the next 6 years would have been.
could only have been better, Mike.
It would have been much better. The question is how good, Would they have made another serious run? You never know,
No, you never know, indeed. But look at the turmoil that's followed both Eli and Coughlin.
Incredible. It shows you how good they were and how good Coughlin was. Coughlin is really underrated when you look at how great he really was. He really was.
Patience was no longer a virtue for John Mara once Coughlin left and once Eli left. He kept changing. He kept picking the wrong head coach, he and his GM, and that's why they're in the mess they're in now. They have.
So, you said 6-6. Does 6 keep Dable's job, or does he lose it?
No, I don't think 6 would be enough. I don't think 6 would be enough.
Either do I. Yeah.
The only scenario would be if he does mold a young developmental quarterback, let's say a Jalen Milroe, and they put him in at the end of the year, and suddenly he creates a buzz. That, even with 6 wins, John Mara could force himself maybe to keep Dable.
Well, that's their safety valve. If they don't get it from Wilson, their safety valve is to get something good late in the year out of the rookie quarterback, because that would maybe buy them time. And they're trying to buy time, these guys. That's what they're trying to do.
I spoke to Kurt Warner a couple of months ago, asked him about Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Wilson.
Right.
Which of those he preferred. And he had, in order, Rodgers, Cousins, Wilson. He doesn't like Wilson at all.
Neither do I. I think he's completely shot. He's not the same player he was. Rodgers he's got bad wheels. He still throws it better than almost anybody. I had coaches tell me last year, hey, I was on the field against him. He threw the ball as well as almost anybody in the league. He had 38 drops and 6 or 7 touchdown drops, and he had no team, and the worst coaching I've seen with a decent team in a long time. He can still throw the ball. He might be the biggest pain in the neck in the world. He probably is, but he can still play. But you're talking about an all-time great. We know that. I think Wilson's done. I really do. The problem with Winston is he'll give you 15 wows, and he'll give you 30 intercepts. That's the problem,
Yeah, that's a problem, but that's the best they have right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Hey, so you think Carter and then a quarterback later in the draft?
Yes, not too much later, but Carter and a young quarterback, if in the first round, if possible, unless they get lucky and one of them that they like lasts to pick 34.
All right, good to talk to you. Be well.
You too, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you. Steve Serby at the Post. A couple things to finish up before we say goodbye. And remember, we'll be with you tomorrow night after Game 1 as the Knicks and Pistons meet. Right now, today, a day before the game, the Pistons are 7-point underdogs. That game, 6 o'clock tomorrow night at the Garden. A lot of Knicks in 7 because of the way the Pistons played them in the regular season. But remember, only one of those games were both teams at full strength. Only one. The other thing, they match up well with the Knicks, but they're inexperienced. I think they're going to try and run with the Knicks, which I think is a problem for them. They'll have trouble with the Knicks in transition. And they don't have the experience the Knicks have. And I don't think they have a home court advantage because they're trying to keep Knicks fans from buying up all the tickets in Detroit. They're going to have a Knicks house in Game 3. So if the Knicks are 1-1 at worst, which is what they would be, if they're 1-1 at worst, they go back there for Game 3. They're not going to have any advantage. Knicks aren't going to have any problem playing in Detroit in this series. This is not going to be like playing in Boston, okay? It's not going to be that way. So I think that gives the Knicks a big advantage to win this thing in 5 games. I'd say 6 max. I would be stunned if this goes 7 games. And if the Knicks lost, I would be absolutely flabbergasted. They are 4-1 favorites. They deserve to be 4-1 favorites in this series. I don't think there's any question about it. Now, I'll tell you, I did not think that Soto would turn this into a bigger story by really looking like he has looked the last 2 games. 0 for 8, hitting the double plays, striking out, lunging at pitches, looking off balance. So now everybody is there as they finish up this series with the Cardinals. Everybody is there now viewing every at bat and weighing every at bat, which is what he didn't want here in April. This is not what he wanted to have happen. Now, the one blessing is that they're winning. Their pitching's been good. Alonso has carried them. Vientos looks like he's coming out of it a little bit. They got to get Nimmo going. Lindor will go with the weather. As the weather, like tomorrow's going to be 80 degrees. You'll see him start to pick it up. You don't worry about him anyway. He has to settle down and just be himself. No one's asking him to expand the zone. No one's asking him to drive in 140 runs. No one's asking him to be anything but what he's been. But right now, he doesn't even look like that guy. He looks like a guy who is kind of lost. And I didn't expect that. I'm not surprised that he feels responsibility and pressure, but I did not think it would impact itself in the batter's box the way it has the last couple of days. I want to see what it does. It's made me actually view his at bats. Last night, I was on every one of his at bats, and I was stunned by how bad he looked and how off balance he was and how unauthoritative is the lack of authority and command. I guess command's a better word than authority. Command in the batter's box, controlling the count, controlling the home plate umpire with his reputation. Don't you dare call a pitch. That's if I take it and it's an inch off the plate, don't you dare bang me out. Okay, Juan Soto. That kind of thing. Right now, he's guessing. He's taking pitches for strike 3. The other night, I think it was second at bat Thursday or Wednesday. The pitcher threw him the hangers of hangers, and he got under it and hit a fly ball to right field. Oh, it might have been a night. It's Tuesday night instead of Wednesday night, but it was either Tuesday night or Wednesday night. He threw him a hanger that last year he would have hit 450 feet, and he popped it up. And you could see he was like, I cannot believe I missed that pitch. And right now, that's what he's doing. He's missing the ones that he should absolutely launch. He's taking pitches he doesn't usually take. He's swinging at pitches, and he's even been caught, heaven forbid, in between. Juan Soto in between? I mean, not very much like who he's supposed to be. Right now, it's kind of a little bit of in search of Juan Soto. And it's only April. That's what happens. You know what? You take that big check. There's a lot of things that come with it. A lot of traps. A lot of things come with it. It's like there's an old scene. Okay. And I've referenced it a few times in a movie about Rocky Graziano, not Rocky Marciano, Rocky Graziano. Okay. Played by Paul Newman. Somebody up there likes me. Pierre Angeli was the star opposite him. Okay. In the movie, Rocco Barbella, Rocky Graziano, is always in trouble. He's supposed to be fighting Tony Zale in Chicago for the middleweight championship. And he's antsy, so he flies back to New York to go back to the old candy store, back to the old neighborhood. And he gets in the candy store with Benny, the soda jerk, who owns the the candy store, the nickel seltzer and the whole thing. Back in the old days, the old-fashioned candy store. that you had in New York and even on Long Island. I used to have one in Long Beach, as a matter of fact. And Benny says to him, Rocky, remember, no matter what you get in life, they always give you a check. You got to pay the check. And it's true. No matter whatever somebody gives you, there's something they're going to want. There's something that comes with it that either you have to give up something, you have to pay something, you have to do something. There's always a check. You get the soda, you got to pay the check. You get the ice cream, you got to pay the check. You get $765 million, you got to pay the check. Now he's got to pay the check. We'll see you later.